Welcome to the SNN Network Canada virtual event. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Alvaro Pombo, CEO of ProntoForms. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Alvaro Pombo, founder and CEO of ProntoForms. Thank you for joining us. Excited about telling you a little bit more about our company, our market, and the great opportunity we have in front of us. You all have seen these slides about forward-looking statements. I don't have to go through that a lot. So let me tell you about our market. Our market is quite an interesting market that we've been attacking in a great way. We started with some SMB, then we focused more on commercial. And over the last few years, actually quite early in the game, we started really paying attention to the enterprise because our product has a great ability to help enterprises automating workflows in the field. We've grown on the back of that market. We've grown throughout the entire journey. But very interesting, this enterprise market, and I will describe it in more detail for you. The key of what is going on out there in the world, there are quite a few important drivers for our growth and for the pain that we solve to these customers. The first one is the people. The people at the end of the day, there are not enough field technicians. When I talk about field technicians, think about the guys or gals that are going to fix an MRI for Philips at your local hospital. Sophisticated equipment. They're not the person that is going to drop your set-top box in front of your doorstep. We believe that those, even though they can use the product, that's not our target technician or field person. Ours are usually serving and dealing with sophisticated equipment and sophisticated installations and things like that. Now, guess what? There are not many of them available. They're becoming more expensive. They're aging, and at the end of the day, there are big challenges in bringing them up and running with their knowledge that is required to do that. So the next, okay, here we go. I'm sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. The next key element of this has been technology as an enabler. Motherhood statement, however, technology in the field has been evolving quite well. A lot of very interesting innovation and more to come. When you think about wearables, when you think about ARs, when you think about all those things, there is a lot of applicability of doing what? Making these technicians safer and more efficient, as you will see in a second. The next part of it is the margins in the field are very real. When you sell an elevator margins are between 5 to 10%. Servicing and installing them is high 20s or 30s. So this field force produces not only is the face of the customer in front of the customer, of the company in front of the customer, but they're very profitable. And with that profitability comes the need to enhance their efficiency. And the need to enhance their efficiency, not only for making them obviously more profitable for the company, but also to make sure that you can accommodate the growth on the demand that is going on for these guys. So what is happening out there, if you look at things like the infrastructure bill and major macroeconomic things like that. When I look at the bill, and I always said that, look, I just what reports in the media, I haven't read the physical bill per se. But, there's 70% of the line items in that bill. We have customers in those. So the demand for more services, the demand for more clarity on how those services are performed, as well as the world has to be rebuilt. It has to be rebuilt for environmental concerns, whether we like them or not. It has to be rebuilt because of compliance. It has to be rebuilt for multiple reasons. So those customer expectations are very different these days. And what ultimately that generates is a need for more and more workflows and more automation. So let me walk you through what that really means. Now, give yourself a minute and think about, okay, these workflows, what do they look like? I mean, these are people from Pacific Gas and Electric that are checking on gas meters after one of the accidents that occurred in San Bruno, California. You're talking about Philips with people installing and MRIs, as I described. You're talking about elevator companies, the big ones, the names that you all know, installing, commissioning, decommissioning, servicing that kind of equipment. So when you're trying to do that automation in the field, has to be, there are no Java developers available anywhere in the world anymore, not at the center of the organization, even less in the edge of the organization. So what it comes down to is this is a very interesting problem, and there are very interesting ways that you can resolve them. One that we have is we created this product. It's a low-code platform. We're part of that magic quadrant. I mean, ultimately, I don't believe that you can do this any other way. These field people and the support people for these individuals are so critical for the entire ultimately creation of these workflows, modification of them, because they constantly evolve. They constantly change because of the, situations that they confront in the field. COVID is one example, but there are many all the time, change of protocols, change of things. So you have to deliver this infrastructure and this capability in a low-code way. So let me describe the capability. I talk about safety and efficiency. These people, when they're going to climb a pole to fix an asset, look, if you climb it the wrong way, you won't climb it again, okay? You'll be injured. Something will happen. So safety is number one, motherhood statement, but it's very real. And very real for board of directors and for things and for companies, that have the responsibility for these people. Not only that, these are kind of squads. These people are kind of groups, very tightly knitted, and people care about each other big time. So whatever you're doing has to be centered around safety and obviously efficiency for financial reasons, but also these field people want to do it right, want to do it perfect. They don't want to have to come back and do it again. So the safety and efficiency yield multitude of workflows for us around worker and training compliance, around collaboration, about analysis of what they're doing in the frontline, frontline work enablement and management, people safety and health. We have customers that have north of 200 workflows in our product. We have companies with about 10,000 or north of 10,000 subscribers, 15,000 in some of them. So these are big problems that the value of using technology like this is ultimately enhancing a multitude of ROI elements for an organization. So with that in mind, I gave you some examples already, like Pacific Gas and Electric, I mentioned that, Halliburton uses us, Philips, Johnson Controls, many enterprise customers. We have about 160 large enterprise customers and about 1,600, 1,700 between the mid and the commercial, even though we don't focus there as much as we focus on the enterprise. In the platform, if you think about every second there is a form, and actually that number is increasing. Every second there is a form process. That form has about 34 questions. So every second, one goes. So it's very material what we're doing for these customers. So how wonderful idea, great technology, how do you make money out of it, okay? And what's the financial model behind it? It's a high growth subscription model. We have operating leverage with strong margins. You will see we have about 90% gross margin, which is a great number. Self-sustaining from a cash flow break-even perspective. We're accelerating right now the investment. The market is here. We're deploying more money for growth, as well as obviously the subscription model. The subscription also have some colors of it. It's per user per month in the vast majority of the revenue. However, some customers say, hey, I have some contractors that are only going to use it sporadically. So in those cases, we have also a per submission model. I'll go to a key slide here, which is, okay, so let's talk about growth. The company has been growing steadily. Definitely, COVID had an effect. Okay, we had companies like very famous airlines that were part of our customer base. We suffer from that in Q2 is where it shows, okay, Q2 2020. This is ARR quarter-over-quarter growth. Then in Q4 20, we finished an agreement that we had with AT&T where we were going after their install base with them. It was very good in early to 2012, 2013, 14. From then on, to be honest, they were bringing some terrible customers that were not even looking for the product. They were being given the product because they bought an iPad and things like that they don't move the situation for us. So we finished amicably on that. There were two pieces of that business, one in Q4 and one in Q3. And anyway, we finished that story. However, from a perspective of growth, quarter-over-quarter growth has been steadily going for several quarters. When you look at this ARR growth, is the way we look at the business, okay? Revenue is, you're looking backwards. When you're looking forward, this is what we look at. And as I said, I mean, this is trailing 12 months, and this little number on the top is ARR quarterly. The base 41%. So we see the company executing constantly on this 4-ish%, okay, 4 to 5%. Again, COVID here, again, this is booking, so that's why you saw it in revenue in the other slide. But COVID here in these 2 quarters, and as I said here in Q4, the AT&T thing, and in Q3, the AT&T thing. What that has translated into is a very good base. And you would see the numbers in a second about the quality of our base. And in the process, you also see here some of these spikes, the 9% growth. And if you go backwards, there are quite a few of these great spikes. These spikes come when the enterprises deploy. So my task, and the only thing I'm doing right now, the main focus of us, is we have such a beautiful base, and I'll go into it. We have about 160 of these enterprise customers. And what we're trying to do, 165 for more than 2,500 employees, what we're trying to do is get these 165 to behave like these 30. What these 30 do is, as you can see, they're very deeply entrenched. They have deployed the product in a great way. And what we're doing right now is scaling our ability to address these 165. In other words, what happened to us is the product was more successful than us as a company scaling up our ability to keep up with it. It has been going very well. So the investment primarily has been going into taking these accounts and expand them at scale. Now we're talking about 160 accounts, 140, 50, about 8 to 10 come every quarter, new ones. So it's been a very interesting approach of evolving that. We brought a new member to the management team, a CRO, great guy, great focus individual that has sold to these large enterprises, but not only sold. I mean, when people say selling to an enterprise, first sale is a proof of concept. It's a simple sale that you make. They happen very fast, under 90 days. From then on is where the fun starts and where the expansion really happens. And the product does a terrific job. And I think, I mean, ultimately, testament of what we're referring to, just look at these net retention numbers here. This is trailing 12 months, so this 120 includes some of those issues that I referred to. However, I mean, 120% of total of net retention. And that's very relevant. Those are great numbers. I mean, 2019, 163. Again, you can see the numbers across the board, and the net retention is very strong and it's very good. What really translates into is we have a great product that expands very well, and we're just honing down the motions to keep doing that at a scale. We're at $20 million of ARR, close to that US, every number that I've been giving you. And what we're trying to do is replicate that. So let me give you an example of how it expands, so you get a sense for what I'm referring to. This is one of the elevator businesses. They start with a use case in North America. There was an accident in Hong Kong. They take the product from North America, more Hong Kong. Then North America says, hey, we're going to use it across the board here in the U.S. and Canada, goes to more Hong Kong, and now Japan starts to look into it, more Asia expansion. And you can see how it evolves, okay? This is throughout a timeline and continues to evolve. This particular customer keeps on buying. So when we look at them and we plot them, what I'm trying to do is, instead of having 29 customers on the left here, I want to have 160, and you can see how material this will mean for the company results. Now, out of the 160, we don't need to get every single one of them, but that's the piece that we're scaling and investing for. What this graph depicts is when, in blue, they started using the product, when, in yellow, they move into just right around under 100K, so this is called the first PO out of them, okay? Then they add more than 100K, and then they continue to significantly add, is in light green. It's getting better. I just want more of it. I'm quite selfish and focused, and we're going to get there. So now, let me talk about the company, how we finance this thing, and how does it work. This is our operating leverage, 90+% gross margin, as I said, on recurring revenue. We maintain a 50% spend on sales and marketing, and that's what we're doing, and we will continue to do. We don't have any major R&D spend that, oh my God, we're behind the 8 ball on this product, on that product. This is all organic growth. We haven't acquired any company. We are just focusing on expanding and continue to acquire the way we acquire. It's quite efficient from a CAC perspective and CAC to LTV. So right now at this stage, very focused on continue executing this way. In the future, we will look at other ways to augment growth, but we have plenty of growth in sight that we can just continue to execute on. Moderate R&D spending, and as I said, and steadily decreasing G&A spend throughout the years. So some of the key numbers here, I'll let you, this is from right to left, but I'll let you, stare at them. I think what is clear is we can bring our non-GAAP op loss very close to profitability, the times where we wanted to. We just stop hiring and we get there. We always keep it very close to profitability, but trying to maximize the growth, because the growth currently stands in that 20% area, okay? I look at growth, ARR, growth, 95% of our growth of our revenue is ARR, by the way. So that's the right place to look at, and we report the bookings. Okay, so that's we're basically looking 3 months ahead always. And from that perspective, we have a great operating model and a great ability to sustain growth and pressing the gas pedal to get to the high 20s, 30s, where we believe is an ultimate play, is our place, and we believe we can be rewarded in a very good way by staying in that place. Nothing wrong with the 20s whatsoever. However, it's more than that, and we're going to get there. So the next part of the story here will be the team, strong team, tight team, new CRO here, Michael Kramer. And behind the scenes, this company went public at a time where we were very small. It was a set of circumstances in 2008 that the world collapsed, and we decided to go public in Canada with very little revenue. I'm going to say $100,000, but it wasn't probably even that. Just around that. So they has a very good board behind the scenes. Terry Matthews, some of you might know him. He's a multi-successful guy, billionaire guy, high-tech guy, a great icon in Canada of entrepreneurship, and ultimately of being a good businessman. And he's the chairman. He was my boss at Newbridge. My background, I'm a computer engineer. CIO of one of his companies, his biggest one, SNN Networks. And before that, I was with Exxon in field services, field automation. And that's where this story comes from. Myself, Scott Berg, came from ServiceMax, former CEO of ServiceMax. ServiceMax is one of these key field service management companies or ISVs, and very close to Salesforce.com. A great addition. Former CEO of that. Phil Beck, some of you might know him. Ergonic. I mean, the other three members, two of them have been CEOs formerly. Great board and great governance. And if I sum up what we have in our hands, is ultimately a leading product in a great enterprise market, a market that continues to evolve in a great way due to technology and changes and the importance of the field, as I said. Predictable growing revenue, recurrent. We've been in power for many quarters, and I think the predictability of the business is there. Focusing on these strong expansions that I referred to, with cash flow annuity that continues to grow with a high customer retention rate, and strong operating leverage that we have demonstrated already for several quarters. And I think a strong team and technology and go-to-market approach. So I think the market opportunity is still humongous. These are just early days of automating the field, the next frontier of automation. And there is still a lot of demand and a lot of needs to be fulfilled. So that's all I have to share. And I'll open the floor for questions, if there are any.
Thank you, Alvaro. We do have a few questions here. Our first question asks, what is your vision for the company in the next 12 months? Where would you like to be?
I want to be, I want to deliver the great product we have to these enterprises that we already have in a broader way. I mean, they have it, they live in it, they love the product. I'm just scaling to be able to deliver that promise to many other subscribers within those customers that can benefit of. So my vision is executing flawlessly on those expansion opportunities, and I think the rest will be taken care of by those numbers. I mean, that's the focus, that's the priority, and that's what we're going to be doing.
Thank you. Our next question asks you to speak a little bit to the direct sales approach in contrast to your channel partners. What are the benefits of having a direct sales approach?
Yeah, great question. Look, we're very partner friendly. I mean, we've been with, as I said, with AT&T for, my God, almost a decade with them, even though it wasn't the best, call it, go-to-market, was very good at the beginning. So all this to say, we know how to partner. We have some key partners, ServiceMax, Salesforce. This year, we're adding a capability to extend Microsoft Dynamics. We currently have, obviously, 365 and SharePoint and everything. We also have some partners in a couple of other areas that are of interest to us, something that is called EHS, Environmental Health and Safety. There are companies like Intelex and others that we extend, and we have very strong relationships, and EAM, which is Enterprise Asset Management. And in both of those places, we have great partnerships. So what we're doing is focusing on those 4 categories of partners and just keep steadily working with them. How do you work with them? Their system integrators, and in some cases, their direct buyers have challenges that their products have a gap, so they cannot fill them. So they bring them to us. We love those customers. We have reselling agreements with some of them, and others is referrals. And ultimately, that's bringing about a third of our new bookings every quarter come through partners. And I think it will continue to grow because as the fit becomes more clear, more opportunities are flowing. And the direct the way we look at it is ultimately we pair those partners with one direct seller, and because at the end of the day, we're working with the customer together. So from a direct perspective, marketing, thought leadership, etc., brings about 2/3 of the new bookings. Okay, then direct partner relationships bring the other third, as I said, and then we work with or without the partner, depending on how they want, in expanding those accounts. And that's 100% done directly with our full responsibility of onboarding and taking care of those customers and loving them to death. Hopefully death will never occur, but that's what we do.
Great, thank you. Our next question asks if you could speak a little bit to how COVID has changed your clients' view as to the necessity of having automated solutions like ProntoForms in their toolkit.
I always joke that I used to be a guy that when I introduced myself and I said, I'm focused on the field. That's where I come from, okay? That's where I spent a decade of working for a company that just did that. Then over the last 20 with this. So I've been a field automation person all my life. However, it's funny. I mean, not many people understood what that meant. People didn't know what field or frontline worker or first line worker really meant. I think COVID created a level of awareness that things in the field are so important for everybody's well-being, and also that those people are very relevant for all of us. So I think conceptually macro, I think there has been a change in attitude. The next is the business. My God, they had huge impacts by COVID. I mean, it's how you enter a hospital right now. It's a totally different protocol. How you deal, as I said, with technicians, availability of them, training them, everything has changed, and everything, I mean, really, it's a cry for automation everywhere. So now field organizations are busy all the time, so they don't move like selling, I don't know, marketing software to someone or something like that. They're people in the field, they're very busy, customer-centric. So it's an interesting industry from that perspective. It moves in a different way, but very material moves as they move.
Thank you. Our next and final questions in the last couple minutes here asks, or states, I should say, appreciating that it's the right strategy to spend on sales and marketing and operate at a reasonable loss while the opportunity for growth is there, but what is the other side of that? What results or KPIs would cause you to pull back on spending and begin operating profitably?
Look, there is a magic number in my mind, and people talk about the rule of 40. I don't know, for many years I said, okay, just another metric from the valley, who cares? However, it's very meaningful. And I'll tell you why I think is as we operate the company, I think 30% growth, will people radically different for the company for 40? And how much more do we have to spend to get that extra 10? Okay. Time will tell. I don't necessarily think, I think from 20 to 30, there is a difference, a substantial difference in how you operate. Growth is a layer cake. I always describe it like that. And that next layer of the cake comes from those expansions in the way I'm describing them. But as we reach them, and as we've proven already with the margins that we have and with the ability to generate cash, I think my prediction is we'll let that cash flow and starting to go more to the bottom line and start representing that stage. I think ultimately for the company, if it becomes consolidated or a consolidator or whatever the future will, and not whatever, we think about all the different scenarios, but financial health and proven performance is an asset for all of us to maintain respectable valuations and to maintain respectable position in the market. So I follow that, and we've been very, very diligent in the way we deploy the money. We've been very, very responsible at it. But as I said, right now we're pushing the gas pedal, not irresponsibly whatsoever, but we're pushing it, and it's the right time to do it.
Great, thank you. That's all the time we have for questions today. So on that note, I will leave it to you for any closing remarks, and then we can close up shop.
No, I mean, I'll leave it with one thing. Always thank you for listening to the story. Number two, if you're not going to hold ProntoForms as an asset in your portfolio, look for others in field automation. It's a very material space, somewhere where you should be looking into for sure. And anyway, I hope you learned something from the conversation. If you have any further questions, please reach out to us. Happy to answer any more questions from anybody. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Alvaro.